I don't know what this thing is or why it chose me. All I know is that it showed up one night during a thunderstorm. The first time it happened, I was watching a movie in the dark as the rain pounded against the roof. I had a bowl of popcorn in hand and a cold beer on the table beside me. A bolt of thunder here and there would cause me to jump, but aside from that, I was enjoying my night in. Until I heard the knocking. A particularly loud clap of thunder had startled me, sending popcorn tumbling to the ground. Fucking storm, I muttered, stooping to clean up the mess. And then I stopped in my tracks. Every muscle in my body tensed. Knock. 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 It was faint, barely perceptible, but I could have sworn that it was there. I paused the movie and strained my ears, listening for any further disturbances. And there it was again. Knock. 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 I crept over to the door, trying to remain as silent as possible. The knocking continued, louder this time. Knock. 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 Dread coursed through my veins. No one should have been there. The nearest neighbors were miles away, and the rain was coming down in sheets. I swallowed my gathered the courage to call out to whoever was on my porch. Hello. Is someone out there? Part of me didn't expect to receive a response. But I got one. And it was more unsettling than I could have ever imagined. Alan, it's your mother. Please let me in. I froze. It sounded exactly like her. But that couldn't have been Mom. She'd been dead for 13 years. The voice called again, more desperate this time. Alan, please let me in. It's cold out here. I slowly backed away from the door. I don't know who you are, but you need to leave right now. My mother is dead. The thing was silent for a moment, as if processing the information. Then, it started shouting. Alan, let me in. Please let me in, Alan. It's cold, so cold. It hurts. You're an awful son, leaving your poor old mother in the freezing rain like this. Alan, open the door. The knocking started again, louder than before. More insistent. I stumbled backward, feeling as if the house was closing in around me. This couldn't be happening. It wasn't possible. The knocking turned to pounding. Hard, booming blows that rattled the photographs on the walls. Then, just as they reached a sickening crescendo, the knocks at the door just stopped. The only sound outside was that of the unrelenting rain. I waited, breath hitched, for something to happen. And then it spoke. I expected better from you, Alan. I heard something lumber away. Something big. I couldn't take my eyes off the door as the footsteps were drowned out by the storm. I never phoned the police about the incident. Response times are slow this far out. I didn't need them snooping around my property anyway. I was hoping that it would be an isolated occurrence. One of those odd events that I could write off as some sort of auditory hallucination. But then it happened again. 2 weeks had passed since the first incident. In the following days, I had found no evidence that what ID experienced was real. Plus, it had rained since then, so I thought I was in the clear. Maybe ID dreamt it all. But when that voice returned, I knew that it wasn't all in my head. It was storming again. Hard. The forecast called for 3 days of non-stop showers. I found myself sitting in my living room, watching a TV show. On a commercial break, I stood to grab another beer from the refrigerator. And then I heard it. Knock. 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 I stopped in my tracks. My blood turned to ice as my eyes fell to the door. Knock. 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 I was horrified at what I saw next. The doorknob began to turn. The realization hit me like a bucket of cold water. I hadn't locked the front door. I raced across the foyer, feet slapping the hardwood. I covered the distance as fast as I could, praying that I would make it in time. With one final burst of momentum, I lunged forward and locked the deadbolt. The doorknob jiggled a few more times before it stopped moving. And then the laughing started. It was my mother's voice. The thing at my door cackled like a witch, its high-pitched giggles tearing through the night. I didn't want this to happen. Not again. When it spoke, all the color drained from my face. Alan. Alan, I know you're there. Won't you be a dear and let me in? I didn't respond. I stood, staring at the door, willing the voice to go away. The doorknob jiggled again, harder this time. Alan. It spat my name out, quick and sharp like it tasted foul. I didn't play into its game. I decided then and there that my best option was not to engage. Instead, I went around the house, ensuring that every door and window was locked down tight. When I returned to the foyer, the voice had gone silent. I downed the remainder of my beer and tossed the empty in the trash. ID had enough for one night. All I wanted was to go to sleep and forget that ID ever heard the voice in the first place. I considered turning the TV off but decided against it. If that thing was still outside, I didn't want to tip it off that I wasn't in the living room anymore. I went through my nightly routine before tucking myself under the covers. I shut my eyes and tried to sleep, but I couldn't. Something wasn't right. It felt like I was being watched. I lay in the darkness, my eyes glued to the window. Curtains obscured all but a thin sliver. I couldn't see if anyone was out there. Not with how dark it was. But somehow I knew. I knew that thing was outside my window, watching me as I slept. Crash. A bolt of lightning suddenly illuminated the night sky. Along with a sickly yellow eye staring through my curtains. I didn't get a wink of sleep that night. I didn't even try. I returned to my armchair in front of the TV where the curtains covered the windows completely. I didn't hear another peep out of the thing for the rest of the night. Not one word. But I could feel its presence until sunrise. I was paranoid about locking the doors for a long time after that. It was automatic. Every time I returned home, I'd check that each door in the house was secured. I wasn't taking any chances. Months passed by without incident. I was on high alert with each hard rain. But eventually, my paranoia subsided, and I let my guard down. I think that's what it wanted. For me to get sloppy. I was jolted awake one night by a booming thunderbolt. It was raining again, coming down sideways. That was strange. I hadn't remembered rain in the forecast. I sighed, swinging my legs over the side of the bed. I needed to make sure the door was locked. Just for my peace of mind. My feet touched the ground and I felt a searing pain shoot through my ankle. I immediately pulled my legs back up. The wound was dripping blood. A bolt of lightning lit up the room. I glanced down to find a clawed, gnarled hand grasping at the air. I cannot describe the amount of fear I felt as my mother's voice drifted from below my bed. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for letting me in. I called the police. They're on their way, but with the storm and the distance to my house, I don't know how long they'll have to wait. The thing using my mother's voice keeps whispering to me, coaxing me to join it. I think it's toying with me. Come here, Alan. I have something for you. Such a nice boy. Help your poor mother up. I love you, Alan. Please, come lay with me for a while. I don't know what this thing is or why it's mimicking my mother. And I'm afraid that it'll be dead before I find out. HTTPS www.reddit.com horrorjunkie123